I'm ready.
All right, we're live. As live as we get.
What's up, folks? This is Robbie here with podcast number 3. We have the one and only Tom Quigley on. Say hi, Tom.
How's it going, guys?
Try to get a little closer.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
We have...
Hello.
There's Tom. We have Sonny Parlin.
Hey, what's up?
And then we have the man in black.
Yes, sir.
Squid, the filmer.
The Squidly.
And today we're going to talk about marijuana, mostly, I would say. Tom is the CEO of The Glue, a company he started, and it is blowing up at the moment. And Tom is sort of, I look at him as kind of like a guru of the industry, of that, the debate on legalization and whether it's good for you, bad for you, whether it should be legal, whatever. Tom knows it. So we're going to pick his brain today. And on top of that, he's a really close friend of mine. I've known him now for over 5 years, and he does JiuJitsu with us as well. So Tom likes to relate a lot of business to JiuJitsu, and it really, we get into a lot of deep conversations about that. Right, Tom?
We sure do, and it's probably the highlight of my day.
Tell us more about The Glue. Tell us more about what you do and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm involved in a lot of different projects, the Glue being one of them, and basically getting the amendment number 2 passed in the state of Florida for medical marijuana. But in addition to that, I think it's important to start off with, you refer to me as the expert on marijuana.
Right.
And,
well, to me, if I have a question, I gotta ask you.
and I find that to be funny because, and before the age of 40, I didn't even know what the effects of marijuana were. I never even used marijuana growing up. It was something just like jiu-jitsu that I found after I turned 40 years old. And now I've delved headfirst into it, and I do find myself to be an expert on marijuana. And
the industry.
And the industry as a whole. And, I didn't become it overnight. I became involved in many of the organizations throughout the country, and I'm glad to bring that information back to you guys. And it's confusing. It was confusing to me when I first realized that marijuana was medicine, or cannabis is medicine. Not only that, but it opened up my eyes to, basically that things from my personal perspective, the way that I saw them, were not all the way that things were, if that makes any sense.
Well, what's funny, even, I've been smoking pot since I was 15 years old, on and off. But, then everybody starts talking about legalization, and it became this huge issue. And I was like, even me, I was like, oh, everybody wants to get high. Everyone wants to get high. But then, after talking to you and seeing what the marijuana oil and the CBD, right, what it actually can do for people with epilepsy, seizures, what else does it?
PTSD, we have veterans that are coming back and they're committing suicide from the pharmaceutical drugs that are, playing tricks on their minds and their bodies. We are also finding that it's helping with patients that have Alzheimer's. Patients like myself that have degenerative bone disease. I've had spinal fusion, a few different surgeries, and to be quite honest, I lived in pain for a number of years that was only dulled by, heavy pain medication.
Wow.
So, we're finding that people are actually coming off heavy doses of opioids and drugs that they are becoming, addicted to, that are relieving the pain, but the side effects are so tremendous.
So in those states that it became legal, the opioid use is way down. From what I understand, and don't quote me, we could probably look it up, but that opioid use is way down in those states. And obviously marijuana use is up, and the revenue is insane.
Yeah, you know, the revenue, that's what's making many people's eyes open up to the industry. They want to see money. But in reality, it's impacting people's lives in a positive way. And we're just starting to see those numbers. We're starting to see where, like you just mentioned, the opioid use is down. The crime is going down because the cartels are not handling the drug deals. And you don't have people going and, you know, dealing with shady drug dealers to obtain what they need, which is medicine.
Right.
And we could get into my story of how I actually learned that cannabis was medicine if you guys want to, because
of course.
it
Just
actually,
say whatever you want, Tom.
yeah, you know, because I think it's important to know, because my face is out there,
Yeah.
and I am pushing for marijuana so heavily, and it was because of basically you, Robbie. We were training, I don't know if you remember, almost 5 years, in 2013, and I took a blow to my ribs, and I went to the ER, and
I'm so glad you said your ribs.
Sonny, if you know this story already, but you know, and I got a CT scan because I thought I broke one of my ribs, and they came back and told me that I had a mass on my pancreas.
I remember that, man. That was a crazy. That was a crazy what? Couple months, right?
It was a crazy couple. It was October 26th through 2012, and I came in, and you were one of the only people I told about
Yeah,
it.
I remember.
If you remember, it was yourself, and I was training in the morning with Mark Jones.
Yeah, Mark Brown.
Mark Brown.
Yeah,
Mark
yeah.
Brown. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mark Brown. And it was a confusing time for me. And I started looking for how I was going to treat myself if I did have what they were telling me, which was a mass on my pancreas. And I started going to Moffitt Cancer Center, and I started seeing people that were being treated for cancer. And I started searching for ways that I was going to battle what I thought was going to be a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. And that's how I found cannabis as medicine. I actually searched the internet looking for alternative treatments, and I found John McAfee down in Costa Rica or Belize, one of these countries, growing marijuana as medicine. And since then, it's yep.
What did it end up being on your pancreas?
You know, for 4 months, the process was I went to Brandon Regional Hospital. What they told me was it was scarring that was not cancer.
Oh.
So we're not sure exactly what caused it. I've done in my life juice diets, where you lose weight by doing juice only. Mm-hmm. So some people have theories that the juice diet could have caused some scarring on my pancreas. I also had a case of pancreatitis in 2010.
Dude, I had that too. Remember right after I moved down to Florida, I got like violently ill, and I had this like pain in my stomach. It was really bad, and I kept throwing up. And I thought that I had like a stomach bug or something. But you know how like when you get sick with the stomach bug and you throw up, you get a little bit of relief, you know, before the next wave comes over you. But when this happened, it was pain that was causing me to throw up, and as soon as I threw up, it was back again, the pain. So I knew something was a little bit off, and so I went to the hospital, and they basically figured out that I had pancreatitis that was caused by my gallbladder, which had stopped working, probably because I had a terrible diet and was overweight, you know. But so they ended up taking my gallbladder out and putting me on, you know, some short-term med, and it fixed. You know, I was in the hospital for like 4 or 5 days. But
how much did you weigh then, Sonny?
265, 270. Wow. It was before my big weight loss journey. So
yeah, no, you're amazing. You look amazing. You're
Thank
you're
you.
an
So do you, by the
inspiration
way.
to me. By the
You
way.
inspire me, man.
Sexy man. Sexy.
We're gonna hug it all out. It's called lock and hug.
Tom just lost what? How many pounds?
I lost 56 pounds.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah. So, and this is the second time in 10 years now. So back when I had the pancreatitis, I was 285.
Yeah.
There's two things I think in my life that have changed not only my perspective, but I believe saved my life and made it better. One is JiuJitsu. I discovered that in 2010, right after my case of pancreatitis, and the other is cannabis.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand.
And
Wow,
and it's
basically.
weird. It didn't happen at the same exact time. You know, and to me, it's a paradigm shift in the way that I viewed the world. But it's scary, isn't it? Sonny, when you go into the hospital and you don't know what it is and what they're going to do to you? And
Well, I'll tell you, it was funny because I was, I had this severe pain in my stomach, so they gave me morphine, and when they gave me the morphine, I finally started feeling better. But of course, I was
On morphine.
yeah, I was on morphine. So I remember this doctor comes over, and she was Indian doctor, and all I remember was that she was really beautiful and she had a nose ring.
Sound fine.
And she came over and she says to me, Mr. Parlin, you're really sick. We looked at you. You have pancreatitis. You're very sick. We need to admit you. And I had been on morphine, and it was like the first time I'd been on morphine, and I was like, all right, what do you got to do? You can go ahead and do it. I'm fine.
Dude, one of the worst experiences of my life was being in the hospital for 6 days with a staph infection. Just being in the hospital and not having control is just the worst feeling.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was the second worst thing. First worst thing was being seasick for 8 hours
I heard
on
about
a boat. Yeah, that was the worst experience ever.
But I will say this, though. I got to give a shout out to Florida Hospital. Florida Hospital is amazing. They took really good care of me when I had pancreatitis. They fixed me up, and the nurses there took awesome care of me. It was honestly like the best experience I could have asked for. Getting sick like that.
Good hospitals around here.
Yeah.
A lot of people say good things about the hospitals in Tampa.
yeah.
All of them.
I've had nothing but good experiences at all the hospitals. I'm still here, right?
Yeah.
So I knew this. We weren't coming here to talk about my medical history, but it's funny.
Talk about anything.
When I was admitted in 2010, when I found out I had pancreatitis, this was after a year battle with pain pills. And not only did I have pancreatitis, but they told me I had stage 3 liver disease. Ooh. It was the first year that after my divorce that I had my children for Christmas, and I was admitted to the hospital 3 days before Christmas. And I remember being in there and just crying, wanting to get out for Christmas Day. And I got out Christmas Eve. I ran to the mall and I shopped and I bought presents for the kids. But that time being in the hospital, and it's like you lose complete control.
Yeah.
Whether you're in there for staff or you're in there for, gallbladder or just for tests, and it's scary. It's scary to people.
Yeah, my main concern was not dying.
Yeah.
So once I kind of figured out that was going to happen, everything else was kind of fine.
I think that from my past experience, I went through 4 months during that period of time when I wasn't sure if it was cancer or not.
Yeah. Of
not knowing whether I was going to, and all I wanted to do, nothing else in my life mattered anymore. It didn't matter how much money I had in the bank. It didn't matter what my car looked like. It didn't matter, what mattered to me was not dying and surviving. And I think once you're put in that position, no matter what it is, whether you're overseas or, you're in the hospital, because we're all tough guys. We're tough guys on the mat. We're tough guys to everybody else. But when you're sitting there and you're really facing, the thing of not dying, you look at the entire world differently.
Do you think that, and this is something I've wanted to ask you before, I never did. Do you think that, because it always amazes me with you, Tom, that you're so motivated. And you've been motivated and kind of stayed motivated through some pretty fucked up shit that's happened in your life. But everybody's got shit in their life,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And you've been able to, and even at your age, you're 47 and you're just motivated to start these businesses, and you believe in yourself and you believe in your team. And do you think that experience with the scare, made you less affected by the trials and tribulations of being an entrepreneur?
Yes, I do. I believe that this has been in my blood, though, ever since I was young. I've always gone ups and downs. I've experienced hard times and I've experienced good times.
Right.
But I've never faced life or death. And I felt like, once I faced life or death and survived that, anything's possible. So nothing's worse than dying. We all, like you just said, everybody has problems. We all have problems. Life isn't easy.
Like, don't sweat the small stuff. But
exactly.
Yeah, it's all small stuff.
And it really is. And I'm not perfect. I'm human. Just like, everybody else, I have my own fears and I have my own, scares and, what I want to do. But what life has taught me is that no matter what, if you keep moving forward and progress and try to make tomorrow better than the day before, that everything's going to be okay.
You truly believe that?
I truly believe that.
I can see where you're coming from with that, though. Because I got a little short story, too. And it's pretty similar to that, too. So, it was...
Sorry, who are you again?
This is Squid. So, this is like the first trip that I had to go to a foreign country. And I got hurt on this trip, And so, I had gotten hurt by people that were trying to detain. And so, I had to go back to the hospital. And then found out that it was a bomb that went off. Had a lot of the shrapnel that went inside me. And so I thought it was all good. So I went to the hospital. They took all the shrapnel out. They were all fine. Found out later that it had messed up a part of my spine. So I had to get a spinal fusion, just like you did. And I was in a wheelchair for I'd say a good year. I'd say 4 or 5 months. But the therapy in between switched out, so it was about a year. And so, man, they gave me so many fucking different drugs, dude. I was on Percocets. They had crazy morphine amounts that they had me on to do the operation and everything. Had Vicodin just to keep myself aware and keep myself motivated for what they ever say. But I mean, I have friends that kind of went through the same thing that I went to, and when they got out they started just smoking weed, and they definitely think that has had a way better change in their body, positive vibes throughout their body, and rather than being on these drugs that are super addicting, it's crazy.
It's tough, and I don't talk much about addiction, so to speak, but I was addicted. I was addicted to pain pills, and when they told me I had liver disease, I have not drank alcohol or taken pain medication at any level higher than what they've given me in the hospital since 2010. Wow. And it was right after that diagnosis, I made a conscious decision at that moment to quit. I sweat for 3 hours in a blanket on my couch. Mm-hmm. I took vitamins and everything because my pain threshold, to me, I was a tough guy. So I had a company that I was running. I had a family. And, I had to move forward. So to me, 12 pain pills a day just got me through the day, and as it increased, I was never high from pain pills. I was just able to get through the pain that I had, and I had to take higher and higher levels. And then after I quit taking pain pills, I mean, even Tylenol, I was scared. I was like, how am I going to live through pain? Mm-hmm. And that's when the diagnosis that I thought was going to be the surgery, they told me I was going to get this Whipple and I was going to have to go through surgery. In my mind, I was like, how am I going to... I don't want to get addicted again. I don't want to go in and get pain pills, and I don't want to become addicted. So I actually flew out and got my medical card in the state of Washington and in California because I wanted to prevent myself from getting to that point. I think that if I would have continued using the pills that doctors had given me, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. These companies make so much money off giving people these pills, and then it just makes them want more, and they use this fear, hey, if you don't take these pills, this bad thing is going to happen to you. So people believe it, and they just keep buying it and keep buying it and keep buying this stuff, and just makes these people richer, and it's fucked up.
Do you think that marijuana can save people's lives?
Yes.
Really?
Undoubtedly it could save.
Yeah.
It can save people's lives.
And I don't think it necessarily has to, because there's a large portion of people out there that think it should only be legal in these extreme cases where you have these children that are epileptic, and the only thing that will work is CBD oil and stuff like that. And it's okay, everybody else is just trying to get high. Well, not really. I smoke it because it helps me with anxiety, stress. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but I need it. sometimes to get through the day because, oh Lord, do I have some days. So,
and we all do. Think of the housewife that's at home drinking half a box of wine.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're everywhere.
Or I live
Sonny
in
loves those houses.
massive. How
who do you think delivers the wine?
with a free lesson?
Stop it! You guys are crazy.
It's like a 70s porno.
But I mean, it's very common for people to have a 2 martini lunch, or come home and have a 6-pack of beer at the end of their day, or a Johnny Walker Black, nightcap. What is that doing? What are the side effects of that doing to somebody's body? I think it's about freedom. It's about freedom to choose. If you want to use Xanax to control your anxiety and it doesn't affect you poorly, go ahead. If you want to use alcohol, then go ahead. But you be aware of the risks. But allow cannabis to be a choice. Not just, and that's, I'm glad you brought this up because I started out just thinking medical. And I was like, okay, this should just treat cancer. And then I started learning and I travel the country and I go to Denver. I go to Northern California. I'm leaving for Denver tomorrow. From Denver, I'm going to San Francisco. And in these states that are within the continental United States of America, we have people that have the right to choose. That they are, and you know what? It's nice. You go out and they have these cannabis parties that are going on. I was at the Oakland Museum last week. Or 2 weeks ago, and they actually had a consumption area for cannabis. So instead of serving wine and champagne at the museum, people were consuming cannabis at the museum.
But that, the funny part of that is I always picture, because I've never been to an event like that. I mean, Sonny and I went to Cannabis Cup, and I saw some people freaking out. It's the first, you go your first time, your second time you go to some eloquent event. They have a consumption area, and you take it and freak the fuck out.
It's a museum. Imagine being
it was at a museum. I mean, this is a mainstream museum that they have over there, and you have to have your medical card to enter that area. But the cannabis cups and those events are the big parties. That's kind of like the rave things where people would, go to their wild nightclubs with alcohol and drinking, as opposed to, the experiences that,
I would much rather go
normalized.
I would much rather go to a place where I can just order certain weeds off of a menu and hang out with my friends and smoke it in different ways, use this contraption, that contraption, and then walk out of there and be perfectly fine to drive home.
Yeah.
Funny story about Cannabis Cup when me and Robbie.
I want to hear this one. When you start off with funny story.
Well, when Robbie and I, to me, this was an amazing vacation for me because I'd never been out west ever, and quick note about Seattle. I had no idea what to expect, but it's like when you're standing in the middle of New York City and you almost feel a little bit claustrophobic because when you look around, all you see are buildings.
Yeah.
Well, it was like that in Seattle, but all you saw were mountains,
Yeah.
and they're so giant.
It's so beautiful there.
Yeah, they're so beautiful, and the mountains are so giant, and they're so far away, but they seem like they're right on top of you, and it's almost claustrophobic. It's crazy, but it's beautiful.
It's a great place.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, Cannabis Cup was really funny because, we were psyched up to go to this thing, and I was like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to go to this part, we're going to check out that part. So when we get there, we finally get unpacked, we get over to the festival, and Robbie's like, let's go to the dab stations. I'm like, all right. So
Sounds like you.
So for anybody who doesn't know, dabbing is a way of consuming weed that it's like a high concentrated oil. And taking one dab is kind of like smoking a whole bowl at once. So you get a lot more delivery in your system for the bang for the buck, so to speak.
And it may make you cough.
Yeah,
a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when you dab, did you use the blowtorch?
Oh, yeah,
or did you use the traditional?
Oh, these guys had stations set up where it was like
whatever you wanted.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. They had electronic ones. They had.
We did like 4,000 dabs that day.
Well, here's the funny part. So we get there, right? Again, we're just now getting there, right? First thing Robbie wants to do, let's go to the dab station. I'm like, all right, we go to the dabs. So we take, I think, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 dabs, total. Within about 15 minutes, Robbie's like, dude, yeah, I think we kind of saw everything there was to see here, man. Why don't we just go back to the hotel and just chill?
Well, the thing about it is, like, it wasn't 15 minutes. If you going to Cannabis Cup was cool, but once you see all the booths, it's like one dab station after another dab station.
It's overwhelming.
It's just like you could only smoke so much, and then after that, like, let's go do something cool. I wanted to see more nature in Seattle. Like, I would have been, if we planned it better, it would have been cool to, like, do Cannabis Cup and then go hiking. Yeah, or do something to celebrate. See, like, that we're in Seattle or we're in Washington State.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens is that, it's just like after Prohibition when alcohol, people wanted to, drink as quick as they can and get as drunk as they could. So grain alcohol was the number one selling product that was out there.
Wow.
A couple of years ago, you go to Seattle. The first time I ever dabbed was in Seattle as well. And I was with your brother, Robbie, Pete Sessa, who's one of my partners. And, we went out there and I was like, I don't think this is right, man. I was looking at all of it. And then I met this guy named Sabo Shen, and he had a vaporizer called the Vape Exhale. And I don't know what it was like. He spoke to me, and it was like he was mesmerizing me. It was like he was hypnotizing me while he was talking.
You ever do it on weed?
Yeah, but it was exactly like that. And he had this machine that was electronic, and he's just like, here, why don't you try it? And it was so, and that was the first time I didn't even smoke out of a bong before I did a dab. And so that was my first experience, dabbing, so to speak, and it's pretty much my preferred consumption method.
Yeah,
I think everyone likes those.
But it's so harmless.
It is.
The drug in itself is just so harmless because, I mean, we could all sit here and smoke a bowl and be perfectly fine and go about our day, and yet they lock people in boxes and because you have it. It's unbelievable. They lock you in a cage.
Yeah. There's people like my friend George Martorano. He just got out of prison. He was in for 34 years.
For marijuana.
For marijuana. A non-violent first-time drug offender, was put away in 1984. He appealed every year. He just was released in October of 2015.
How much did they find on him?
It was a lot. So, but at the same time, he did not deserve that.
No.
Yeah, man, definitely not.
He did not deserve the penalty that went along with it.
Like, I can almost see it for like heroin guys or the drugs that actually kill people, first, second try or whatever, but not for weed.
Maybe meth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's not only that. Think about the college kids that get caught with just a little bit on them, and now it affects their
whole
ability
life.
to, apply for the military or to apply for a position in the government because they have this small marijuana charge on their record, So, I mean, the laws have to be, these are bad laws. They were put into effect, and, there's...
the story behind it? I'm fuzzy on it.
Yeah,
I thought it had
if you
to
do
do.
know it, I'd love
I
to
thought
know.
it had to do with them, thinking the soldiers wouldn't fight in the 70s,
or that Mexicans were going to rape American women. That's what I thought.
Reefer Madness.
The Reefer Madness. There's Reefer Madness. I mean, there's the story about DuPont who makes the nylon, and the newspaper, the Hirsch Castle, the newspapers, and
that one's true, isn't it?
Yeah, and that it was to outlaw not only marijuana but also hemp. And, it was lies. It was built on lies, and it's classified. And I believed the lies. I believed the commercials in the 80s that I saw about your brain on drugs. Yeah. And I associated marijuana with every other classification of drugs that are out there. Except when I went to a doctor and they told me that I should take heroin in the form of Oxycontin.
No, that's fucked.
I didn't think anything wrong with that, right? But that's what they told me. That's what the doctor, not only me, but you, Squid, and whoever else has gone through pain. And, I think that...
now they can give it to kids. Yeah. They just made that legal that they can prescribe Oxycontin to children.
Yeah.
But not marijuana.
No, not yet. And there's parents that are treating their children that, they're basically breaking the law. And they're doing it because, they believe it's the only option or it's the best option. We're giving kids pharmaceuticals like ADHD medicine, So Adderall.
Meth.
We're giving
Meth.
kids, when I was in school, I had probably what my teachers would classify as ADD, but I wasn't punished for it. These kids now that are creative, that are in school, that are a little talkative and, trying to find who they are, they're being punished, and they're being punished by pills. And their parents are being told that this is how that their child has something wrong with them. So, we have a nation that's been not only brainwashed, but medicated by, our doctors and, society.
They're like zombies, man.
Yeah.
They're like zombies.
Yeah. There are people that have, mental illness that need certain medications. But I think a lot of people, if they weren't brainwashed by it, would benefit a lot themselves from marijuana.
Absolutely. And I'm not advocating that medication is not, there's certain medications. Like when I had diabetes, I took insulin. I took it twice a day, but I changed my diet. Okay. So insulin was a crutch at the time until I can improve what I was lacking, which was a good diet. And I believe that, all drugs, not just cannabis, if they're used, instead of running away from your problems if you run towards it, does that make sense? So instead of, so a lot of people use, even JiuJitsu or MMA as an escape. So, and what happens is a lot of times those escapes are dangerous. They come in the form of alcohol or street drugs or behaviors that are
You not being present.
exactly. And what I found, if we were all sitting here drinking shots of tequila, this conversation would be way different.
Oh,
We'd be talking like Trump.
Fuck yeah. We'll be talking some shit that, the real people will start coming out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but not only that, but, people don't communicate. Have you ever been in a room with a bunch of people after they've consumed a lot of alcohol?
Oh, yeah.
Never in my life.
And, I can't even believe I used to drink alcohol.
I cannot stand being in a room where everybody's drunk. Sonny was drunk the other night in my car.
I wouldn't mind that because then
That was fun though.
usually he takes his clothes off when he's drunk.
He's a happy. very happy.
I'm a very
drunk.
happy drunk. My true personality, which of happiness comes out. Happy-go-lucky.
You should drink more.
By the way, I wanted to give a professional tip to any newcoming weed smokers out there, because I know a lot of times, when you start smoking weed, people feel anxious. They get the panics. They get the anxiety.
They gotta ride this out.
Right, they gotta ride it out. But my solution for you guys is this: you just gotta smoke more of it. Just like Tom was saying, you gotta face your problems head on.
I agree.
And you got to smoke it more. And the more you smoke it, the less of an effect it will have on you, and then you don't have to worry about the anxiety. It won't just go away, and you can just enjoy the relaxing benefits of the marijuanas.
I think that you're a brother from another mother of mine. Because Sonny, tell us a little bit about your experience. You started smoking marijuana after 40 as well, right?
Yeah, well, I actually talked about that pretty in depth on the first podcast. It was similar to you.
You could say it again.
But you took a trip with Robbie, and the same thing with me. I took a trip with Robbie, and he was smoking a bunch of weed. I was, not at all smoking weed. And I saw him perform very well, with his jiu-jitsu, and because the amount of weed he was smoking, he should have been a fall down drunk at that point in my mind, because I didn't know anything about weed, and so when I saw him just do his normal thing, get on the mat and just roll and do whatever, and he taught a great seminar, I'm like, man, are you kidding me? How can that stuff not affect him like that? And so I started taking in the possibility, or allowing myself the possibility that weed could actually be something that's beneficial to you, So,
did you have anxiety though before you smoked weed?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's part that might be part of it too. Is that I suffer from depression, anxiety, all that stuff. So it could have been that because it was the first time I'm smoking marijuana, it was like, oh my God, and it definitely freaked me out one time. I remember I was smoking for a while, and then I quit, for like a good 3 months and kind of had it all out of my system. And I was, of course, hanging out with Robbie again.
Oh, it was the funniest thing ever.
And I started smoking again, and I, and I didn't really feel it at first. So I took another hit, maybe 2 or 3 hits, and the next thing I know, I felt like I was falling into the black hole, like in the movie Interstellar, like Matthew McConaughey, just feet first into a black hole. And I said to Robbie, I remember saying,
"No, I'll let you say what you said to me, but literally nothing's happening. Like my house is quiet. Like even the dogs are like asleep, and like I'm just kind of getting ready to wind down for the day. I go into my refrigerator to get a cup of water. This is a boring scene." And Sonny, I close the refrigerator door, and Sonny's staring at me like with this look of dread and horror, and he's like, "I think I'm just gonna ride this out, man.
I'm just gonna have to ride this.
Have to ride this out." And I
literally fell on the floor laughing.
Dying laughing.
I've never seen Robbie laugh this hard in my life, ever before or after.
Just because it was in the middle of such calmness. The surroundings were so calm, and you're just like, I gotta ride this out. Like you would think that like someone was trying to kill you.
Oh my god!
I can just imagine your face as soon as you close the fridge. He just turns around. You turn around, and you just see his face, the terror.
He's in like a fucking like horse stance. I gotta ride this out, man.
But you know what you're mentioning right now, anybody that's consumed cannabis has probably had a similar experience at one time or not in their life. And I think one of the misconceptions that the industry is starting to tell people is, this is okay, it never has a bad time, you never have a bad effect. Well, 9 out of 10 times, it's perfectly fine. But maybe that 1 out of 10 times something negative does happen.
It's not negative. It's just panic.
No, panic. But I think what happens is that it's people's thought process that brings them there. So they think they're doing something wrong that's negative, and it's not negative. And compared to, like, if you drank too much and you had to ride that out and you were throwing up and you were sick. And then once we come out of that I'd say mind screw of that we're not doing well, we realize everything's okay. And, that's kind of one of the issues that people have is the first time they smoke marijuana, a lot of times people feel, or the first time they feel like they could smoke it, they still have this thing in the back of their mind, they're doing something wrong.
Well, also, too, one of the effects, I think, that's right, Tom, I didn't mean to interrupt or anything, but when you first smoke marijuana, like, if you have things in your life that you're kind of pushing down and shoving away and not dealing with, and then you smoke weed, you'll start thinking about them.
Yeah.
And that can make you paranoid, but this is a drug that'll make you deal with your shit.
Right.
It's called growing.
Yeah, it'll
it helps you
in
grow.
that way, yeah.
I think it's like an awakening to your mind. It just people have going on, throughout their lives. They have things and they try to hold it down, and usually nothing or no one tells them to let these things out. So I think this definitely lets people open up their mind and become more open about a lot of things in their life and
things that they fear.
Yeah, it gives them that good state of mind where, hey, there's another way rather than just pushing all this stuff down.
And I always equate stuff back to MMA or JiuJitsu. JiuJitsu is the same thing. You come out on the mat and you may have a bad experience and you feel horrible about the way you performed or how you felt or your cardio or, that you lost, different things. And those feelings and emotions come out, when you're there, but it's because you're growing. Your experiences help you grow. And, I believe that not only medically, but also personally for people that do suffer from anxiety or depression or things of that nature, instead of pushing those feelings down, it is painful to deal with those feelings head on. And strong men don't want people to see them in pain. Yeah. So we hide it. We hide it, and we hide it really good. But, when we can consume something like cannabis and not use it to bury those feelings and actually deal with them, it might be hard a little bit, but we grow. And that's the only way you progress in life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you definitely have to face whatever it is. Cannabis makes you face it.
Because everybody's got their vices in life, and so it's just
It's
there's a way to deal with it, instead of just pushing everything down, like you said.
Yeah, and it's funny what you say about relating back to MMA, because I think jiu-jitsu has that sort of same effect. When you get on the mat and you train, the mat is kind of like shining a mirror at you, showing you the kind of person you are. Can you handle stress? Can you handle pressure? Can you handle, someone coming at you and tapping you out a bunch of times? Or
Can your ego handle that?
right.
Yeah.
And so the mat kind of exposes your true personality, and some people don't like what they see and they quit. Some people don't like what they see and they try to build and become better, and those are the people we love.
Some people don't.
I almost quit so many times. I started training jiu-jitsu in 2010 now, and I probably wanted to quit every single time in the beginning, but in my mind it's because I couldn't get better. So instead of working towards trying to get better, my inner self said, I'm not good at this, go do something else. But you know what? I said, I don't want to quit. I don't care if it takes me 10 years to get better, because I feel that it helps you evolve and grow. And that's painful for a lot of people, and growing is painful. And many people, unfortunately, stick their head in the sand and hide and don't grow because it is painful. And that's why not many people stick around in jiu-jitsu, and that's why a lot of people just accept where they are in life at the age of 40 or at the age of 50 or even 60, and they refuse to grow anymore because it's going to be too painful.
If I was to teach you a move, a jiu-jitsu move, an armbar, and you learned it and you repped it like 10 times, and then you went and rolled with a guy at your level, or maybe even not quite as good as you, and you tried to do that armbar on them, and when you tried to do the armbar, they stacked you past your guard, submitted you, just bitched you. Well, now you have two choices. Your one choice is, never going to try that armbar again because that hurt my ego. That I'm afraid of that now. Or you can say, I'm going to do that armbar on every person I get a chance to, and I'm going to take my beatings until I get it right, and then that's how I'm going to grow in my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And you'd be surprised how many people take the road. I think the road more traveled is the guy that says, I'm never going to do that armbar again.
What you just described is what my life has been. I've probably failed more times in anything I've ever tried, and that's why I keep getting up and going. You mentioned earlier when we first started this podcast, about, the resilience and just moving forward. And, that's the way life is. That what happens on that mat mimics except exactly what Sonny mentioned earlier is you have no mask. We're all equal once we get on there. So, it's a crazy evolution of not only skill sets, but your perspective as well.
Let me tell you, it's funny because I started a gym. I knew nothing about business, nothing about it. Like it was.
I remember.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing that like I feel like I was carried through that in a way, just somehow. But I knew nothing about business, but I did know about jiu-jitsu, and I'd have a passion for it. And I think people saw my passion for it and stuck with me as students. But I truly feel that I was able to understand business and how to run a business and things to do and marketing through learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Relating it back to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu makes, for me, everything else makes sense.
And I think learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu made my skills in business better.
Yeah.
So, and I remember when I first met you, you were living in the gym. You
Yes, I
actually,
was.
and I remember you looking at me, you're like, I don't even know if this is going to work out. You know, I'm going to move in here, and do you think it's going to work, Tom? And I remember those?
I took a big leap of faith. I was just like, I got nothing to lose.
I looked at you and I said, this guy's making it no matter what. You know, because you were willing to live, eat, sleep your dream. And it was your dream. And no matter what, everything else, you're going to figure out the rest. Even if you don't know how to do accounting, or you don't know how to do the books, or you don't know, if you have the passion and the drive, other people are going to see that as well, and they're going to be drawn to you. It's what drew me, you know, not only to you, but, you know, to your gym, and drawn everybody else. And it's a family now.
Right.
And you started that, and that's contagious throughout, you know, there. And it's one of the reasons I love Gracie Brandon.
Yeah, man.
As well.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a beautiful thing in many ways. You learn so much from it outside of the gym. You learn the concepts behind it. As long as you have the right instructor, and I do, you know, Rob Kahn, you really can take the principles you learn on the mat and apply it to any part of your life. And I feel so lucky to have found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and had a knack for it, because I don't know that if I didn't have a knack for it, if I would have stuck with it, you know. Like I might have been like I'm not good at this shit. Let me get out of here. But I was good at it right off the bat, luckily, and which made me feel good. So I stayed, because I was a person driven by emotion, you know, like especially at that time, and you know, I stayed. And then Rob Kahn just had this kind of faith in me too. Was just like, hey man, one day you're gonna be in ADCC. One day you're gonna do great things in jiu-jitsu. And I was like, whoa. This person to me was like a god amongst men, was telling me these things, and I was good at it. So I think those are things that made me stay. But thank God I stayed, because I learned so much about myself and about how I could do anything as long as I stick to it, even if I'm not good at it initially. Because there's been moves that I've learned that may not work for my body type, for example. And then I don't care, and I get so stubborn about it that I'm going to make it work. Like the Darce choke. You know, it's just not one of my, you know, I have short arms, but I want to make it work, and now I have a good Darce choke, because I know how to fight through that adversity that I create in my head.
Now, I'm going to ask a question. This applies to all of us. So before, remember when you said it, when you try something 10 times and it doesn't work, how do you feel? You quit.
Right.
Now, how about when it does work? That's better than any drug there is out there. I'll tell you that right now. To me, you know, when I found the mat, was those successes release, so like when you actually win after you've not done it. And I heard the story about you with the triangles. Doing triangles over and over and over and over until you were just so good. And Rob told that story, Rob Kahn, when he came to your grand opening, about how dedicated you were to becoming the best at triangles.
Right.
You know, and I remember that. You know, and
well, there was, you know, Rob taught me a great lesson back then, because it was like, I was doing only thing I would do back then is get close guard and triangle everybody, because I knew I would catch you in that. And at that point, and it's funny because Rob told a story about Hoist did the same thing to him. But Rob was like, all right, I don't want you to open your guard for a whole month, or close your guard for a whole month. You're not allowed to. Which forced me to play the open guard, which I wasn't comfortable with at the time, which caused me to get submitted more, which gave me an ego check, but it expanded my jiu-jitsu. And that's such a life lesson. It's such a simple life lesson that most people don't, I don't say most people, but a lot of people don't get the chance to discover about themselves, you know? And then these people don't believe that they can do things. They don't believe they can accomplish things, great things, because no one ever told them they could, maybe.
I often wonder how adult males, or anyone really, how they could get through life without doing jiu-jitsu. It's just, The lessons are just so they're so important and so profound that it's like I can't even imagine not doing jiu-jitsu now.
I feel the same way. But you can get the same things if you love boxing, if you love
tennis,
whatever. I mean, people are just as obsessive with those sports as we are with jiu-jitsu.
Sure, okay.
And it's the same principles, behind it.
You know what's wild is that I think that jiu-jitsu is the most challenging thing that I've ever done in my life. You know, boxing, easy. You punch somebody, that's it. Yeah. There's strategy to it, but, when I've boxed, you box against people at your level maybe, and it's really not full all out. Tennis, yeah, you could play tennis, you could get into it, and it never challenged me. Jiu-jitsu challenged me more than I think anything else in my entire life because it's so hard. And I have the personality that I'm going to keep coming back, but most people my age, they don't. That's why we don't see, people in their 40s as the majority. It's a lot of younger guys, and a lot of the younger guys don't even stick around after 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I've seen them come and go. Guys that wanted to be pro fighters, and this was their life, and they were going to do this forever. And they have a hard patch, and they have a few losses, and they quit. But people go into these cookie cutter lives where they get, the job that was predestined to them and the wife that was predestined, and they raise their 2.3 children, and, and they go through, and then they turn 40 and they don't even know who they are.
Yeah. They go to work, they come home, they drink, they go to bed, they wake up, they go to work.
Yeah.
They drink.
If you're out there and you're stuck in that phase of your life, try something new. It doesn't matter what it is. Go paint. Go scuba diving. Get on the mat. If jiu-jitsu's not a hit, it's find something. But and I think that's what happened to me. I've become passionate about jiu-jitsu, and to me, it took me away from other escapes that may have been distracting me about the problems that were in my life or thoughts. So that's why I feel that.
But you could never be you're not a 9-to-5 guy. Right?
I've never been a 9-to-5 guy.
You've always made your own money.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's amazing. A lot of people can't do that.
Yeah,
a lot of people can't do that.
Well,
tell us about that. Where did you come from? What did you do?
You wanted me to go all the way back?
Go back. Sell me some speakers.
Oh gosh, we're gonna save that for Squid's side podcast, the one that nobody else knows about.
Oh, is that where we talk about all of Squid's Tinder escapades?
There is no real Squid side podcast, but if there was, I would be on it. But yeah,
I can't confirm or deny any of this information that you guys hear.
I like the speakers. I mean, that's amazing to me because I don't think you could get away with that today.
Well, what did you do?
Going through college, my first son was born, and I had a few different businesses. I sold vacations at night. I also threw a paper route, and I also sold stereo speakers out of vans in Miami and New York and all over the country. Just driving around and, selling street speakers, and people thought they were stolen, but it's not something that I'm proud of, guys. I
mean, you're a human being.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in South Florida. My parents were blue collar workers. I was around, yachts and helicopters and Ferraris, and we didn't have that. I was on, government assistance. And I didn't know any different. And so, to me, it was always I had to go do it. I had to go figure it out. And then I did. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I was going to college to become a sports broadcaster, and I answered an ad for an internship to do sports broadcasting. So I went down, and basically it was reading off the scores off of a fax machine for all the sports that were going on, the football scores, and then advertising for 900 numbers where you pick games for gamblers. So basically you would say, at the top of the hour, the New York Yankees lead the Mets 7-3 in the bottom of the 7th. And for the pick on, Sunday's baseball game, call the dime line, 1-900. So that was one of my companies. But then I evolved, and I was in telecom for 20 years. And then, I thought that was all I was going to do. And when I bought a gym. We know that I used to own an MMA gym, the XFC up in Brandon. I had So after I started training, I did I don't know if it was a dumb thing, but I basically, John Prisco, which ran the XFC.
Right.
We had a morning conversation where he was going to cancel my 6 a.m. class that I trained in, and I wound up buying the gym off of him in just not knowing what I was doing, not ever owning a gym, never being involved. But I thought I knew business, and I thought I would go in there and I'm going to run this gym but it was my.
It sounds like something Trump would do. Are you canceling the class that I attend?
fucking I'm
I'm going to buy your gym.
It's exactly how it went down. It's like it was a 6
Sonny,
a.m.
I'm canceling
argument.
the 6 p.m. class.
Okay, we're so close. I've learned that lesson already, and then I learned quickly that my hobby, which was my escape, wasn't what I wanted to do, and then I delved headfirst into the cannabis industry, and now I'm involved in multiple different businesses. The first thing that I wanted to do was educate people in Florida, so we started the Florida Cannabis Coalition back in 2014. And we did events. I think Sonny and Robbie, you were both at my first event, I think it was in April 2014 in Ybor.
Those were
at the
fun.
Cuban Club, remember?
Those were great.
Great. And we pushed for legalization in 2014 with the Yes on 2 at all those events. Your brother, Pete Sessa,
that was like a match made in heaven right there.
So you introduced me to Pete thinking that he would be a good fit for my phone card business. I made prepaid phone cards to call Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras. It was called the Homies. So we built a brand called the Homies, which we were selling prepaid calling cards. And Pete was a genius at marketing, and he was working with a few companies out of Manhattan, and he lived down here. And Robbie thought that he would be a good match for me. And I told Robbie, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going into the cannabis industry.
And then I was like, he's really a good match for you.
Yeah. and I think I shocked everybody when I told him that I was leaving what I was doing in phone cards and going
that was amazing to me that, at this age that you would do that.
Yeah, because
you would be like, oh, let me just go start a whole another $1 million or whatever company after you just I thought you were kind of just retire. I think you told me you were retiring. You're like, I just want to do jiu-jitsu every day.
It was true. I was like, all right, I'm doing the black belt program with you, Robbie, and we're going to get through this.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Remember, it was like 7 more years, and bam, things changed around, and
you couldn't stay away. Was it something just like you have to be doing this,
I became so OCD about this industry. When I learned what cannabis was, I became so OCD about it. I went to every seminar there was. I went to every event. I spoke to every single person there was. And I learned that there's a lot of misinformation out there. Yeah. So I felt it was my obligation and duty to, educate people in Florida of what was really going on in this country. And that's why we started Florida Cannabis Coalition, and we brought in Steve D'Angelo from Harborside. We brought in, people from across the country that were working in the states like Colorado and California and Washington to speak to people in Florida about what was happening. Because I felt that if we were going to pass medical marijuana in 2014, people really needed to learn the truth. And that's why we did that. And unfortunately, we did not pass Amendment 2 in 2014. We got 58% of the vote.
Which we're the only state in the union where that's actually a thing, where you need 60% of the vote.
It was like 63 or something. What is it?
It's 60, yeah.
Oh, it's 60?
And you're absolutely right. Other states have passed this with more than 50% of the vote. The last 4 governors in the state of Florida have not passed with that high of a margin. But we had 58% of the people that came out and vote for Amendment 2.
Do you think it'll pass this time?
I do. I do think it will pass. I think there's a lot of negative ads that are being run against the campaign that people need to do their research and educate themselves.
I don't see those negative ones.
Yeah, I don't see them either, but I don't watch TV. But, one of the people who opposed it in 2014 was Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. And I don't know. What's her deal, man? Like, why is she so against it?
She
seems young.
I don't know her. The only thing that I can believe is that she's learned her entire life that marijuana was evil and that it was bad, and for her to accept the fact that she might have been wrong all this time is a bigger ego blow to her. And
She just can't handle it.
she can't handle the fact, or and I don't know her personally, so
Yeah.
I couldn't say, but I would say if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I'd be against it if I wasn't educated, but I went out there and educated myself. And I think that in 2016 we have more education that's been done over the last number of years. November 5th, Florida Cannabis Coalition is holding an event at the Embassy Suites, which we're going to do a one-day event. FloridaCannabisCoalition.com if you want to go on there and register. That's going to be November 5th at the Tampa Embassy Suites. Small group, maybe 50, 75 people, which will answer a lot of the questions about what's going on and what really is going on in the state of Florida, and how, if you're interested in it for either medicine or a possible business opportunity, what opportunities are out there. So we're bringing that back. The cool thing that we did in 2014 was we videotaped every one of the speakers that we brought to Florida, and we put that on a YouTube channel, and it's free. So, we weren't out there to do events to, just make money, so to speak, like a lot of the events that came to Florida that didn't care about the education, or they may not have put enough time and effort into curating the speakers. Your brother, Pete, actually did a phenomenal job. We put together 6 different events that had curated content for each event that was different, that really made, when we compiled those 6 different things, almost like a book. Of information, and it's still out there. So if you go on our YouTube channel, all those speeches they're free.
What is the YouTube channel?
Search Florida Cannabis Coalition on YouTube, and it'll pull it up. We have a number of videos from then, and we also have the webpage that you can become a member on, Florida Cannabis Coalition. It's a good source.
Yeah, if I remember, you guys had a really, really kick-ass web designer when you first started up.
Yeah, we did. And then he got so into jiu-jitsu, he opened up his own gym, and
he started to hate the computer. It's amazing.
I forgot about that until just now, Sonny. It's amazing how life has come full circle.
I know,
for
it's
us.
crazy.
It's been so long. It doesn't seem like it. But
I tell you, man, it's funny too, because I was talking about this the other day about how I don't do computer stuff anymore. Robbie always tries to get me to do stuff on the computer, and I hate it, man. I cannot stand it. I hate doing stuff on the computer for my own gym. It's just.
Me too.
It's just 20 years of doing it, man. It's just too much.
Going back to what you said earlier about smoking cannabis and seeing Robbie perform at such an optimum high level, it's amazing when you see that in business. These companies like Google or the computer programming, a lot of what I'm seeing in Silicon Valley, they refuse to drug test their employees for marijuana, because they will lose the best employees that they have.
I bet.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
Yeah, I read something about how the FBI was having trouble hiring security consultants, for IT, because it's all kids that smoke weed.
Well,
like hackers.
And Amendment 2 is about cannabis as medicine, and we can't forget that. But there's a lot of other things that people are consuming cannabis, not just for dealing with depression, anxiety, PTSD, but there are people that use cannabis to enhance their performance when used at dosages that do not interfere with their abilities. So microdosing. So there's a gentleman in California. I don't know if you probably have heard me talk about it, Jim McAlpine, the 420 games.
Mm-hmm.
He and all the time I hear people, they're like, "Oh, what do you guys do? Just smoke a few joints and then see who can beat each other?" And it's the complete opposite. There were 500 people in San Francisco last month out there running a 5K on a Saturday, enjoying a healthy lifestyle and enjoying the day with their family, with music. And, people like Jim, he's also opening up a gym, as we say, called Power Plant Fitness with this football player from Florida that you may all remember, Ricky Williams. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing some more normalized...
What is that gym like?
It's called Power Plant Fitness, and they also have a group called Canna Athlete. And basically what it does is it allows people that consume cannabis to have a safe place to feel that they can work out. There'll be a consumption area, maybe not directly within the gym atmosphere, but it's a place where it's okay if you consume cannabis as
What do they have, padding on the walls?
a nutraceutical. No, you know, there's a lot of athletes, you know, and they're becoming open about it. Athletes have had a hard time being open about their cannabis use because either, you know, even whether they're around children or they're role models or whatever it may be, it's been a stereotype that if you use cannabis, you're this lazy guy, right? Well, that's untrue. I used to think that, but I've met, you know, people that run $1 million companies that consume cannabis. You know, I've met high-level black belts. I don't think, Robbie, is there a black belt that you know or high-level jiu-jitsu player in this industry that doesn't consume? Can you?
I gotta be careful here.
Yeah,
I know.
We don't have to out anybody.
We could by giving the title that they won could easily out them. So
yeah. So
there are some that do not.
There are some that do not, but you know
there are a hell of a lot that do.
Yeah, and a very high level ones.
Very high level ones.
And they're forced to hide that. You know, they're forced to hide that because society views the use of cannabis as, but they could go and they could drink beer and play in the softball tournament, and they can, you know, have a Bloody Mary on the beach with their class and their other athletes that they're with, and that's totally accepted.
All the time.
And totally get shit faced.
Okay.
Yeah, or be high on OxyContin and pain pills, you know, and that's okay. Or they can, you know, open up a pill bottle and pop 2 pills and, you know, wash it down before jumping on the mat to teach students. You know? But unfortunately, if they want to come out and say that they're behind cannabis, they're going to get judged. Yeah. And people like Jim McAlpine and Canna Athlete, they're raising awareness. And athletes like, I don't know if you know Eugene Monroe. He was he played for the Baltimore Ravens. He came out and supported cannabis, and they let him go. So he's no longer working for the NFL, but he's working in the industry to try and change the stereotype that people who choose to use cannabis are not bad people. And I think that, you know, that's what it's about. It's about freedom.
Well, if they are, the cannabis doesn't make them bad.
Yeah, you know, and it's just like, and it's not for everybody, you know. A lot of people.
Nobody's forcing anyone to smoke.
It's just like what Sonny said before. Why doesn't everybody do jiu-jitsu? You know, everybody. Why doesn't? And a lot of people that use cannabis think the same thing. Why doesn't everybody smoke cannabis? Well, it isn't for everybody. But you know what? For the people that it is for, that's who we're fighting for. Let's give them the freedom. Just like, you know, same-sex marriages. The same as, you know, the ability to choose, you know, where you live or where you work. It's about freedom.
That's true.
It's funny. Two out of the 4 people in this room were introduced to weed by Robbie. Thank you.
No problem, guys. I just wanted someone to smoke with.
2 out of 3. 3 out of 2?
2 out of 4.
2 out of 4?
That's the problem with weed. Now, let's do an honesty check here. Okay, let's talk about the things that weed messes up. All right, like your short-term memory.
I think that's why I can't remember shit. Like,
my wife will argue this, but I have one of these memories that I'm like an elephant. I remember too much, and you know. I haven't had any short-term memory loss from consuming cannabis, and
I wish you had not said that because now she's going to think I'm ignoring her.
Yeah, but did she tell you to bring this up?
No.
Okay, so you know, I believe that we forget things that we want to forget sometimes, or we give ourselves permission to forget. So have you ever heard that when you take a photograph, you give your mind permission to forget that scene? It's the same thing. Using cannabis gives you permission to forget some things that you may not want to remember, like your daily tests or activities. So, you know, a lot of stuff is subjective.
Yeah, that's true.
To me, I don't have short-term memory loss from it.
The brain is a muscle, you know. It's just like any part of your body.
I can remember song lyrics from, like, you know, movie lines from some 1973 movie. You know,
I just can't remember where I put my keys.
That's just because you're getting old.
Yeah, that's me either.
Honestly, literally, before I even ever consumed cannabis, those little things happen, and it's because your mind, like, just forget. There's so much stuff going on. You only have so much room for so many things, and sometimes as you get older and you have more stresses and you have more pressures and you have more activities and you're taking on more tasks and things, stuff gets lost in the shuffle, the small things.
I think the brain also unknowingly dumps the stuff that you feel like you don't need and retains the stuff that you feel you do need. And so,
how does the brain know?
I don't know, man. That's science, aliens.
You teach it. That's how it. Your brain is a growing mechanism, so you're constantly teaching your brain new things. So a lot of times people tell me, they're like, "Well, how did you change your view on these things so drastically?" And I'm like, well, our decisions should be based on information, right? So, and our decisions in the past were based on information that was available to us. As new information becomes available to you, you're allowed to make new decisions.
Yeah.
And many people don't have that in their mindset. They believe that the decision that they've stuck with and that they've planted their flag in the sand can't be pivoted. And I think being an entrepreneur, even being a jiu-jitsu player, we understand that there's pivots and there's changes, but the majority of people out there don't.
When I first moved, Rob was giving me shit in the last podcast because when I first moved to Florida, I was hyper liberal.
I heard that.
I mean, I feel like I've just evolved. I've changed. The pussification of society pushed me in the complete opposite direction.
I like that word.
Pussification.
I really do.
Yeah, I mean that's really what kind of set me off and started me on this journey towards the other, going the other way.
It's all the social justice warriors.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
hate that shit, dude.
Everybody wants you to see things from their view.
Yeah.
It's an oxymoron. It's
is.
so ironic, and we see that everywhere. There's a big thing in the cannabis industry right now about diversity. That they're speaking that it's not diverse enough for people of color or women or genders, and I have to disagree a lot of times with that because it's almost like a culture. I feel that I'm being discriminated against sometimes because people view me as successful. So it's almost like the tides have been turned in circles, whether we're not allowed to question our own morality, and people are so set in their thought of, oh well, they're against me or that person's against me, without getting to know who they are,
there's
or there is, and it does exist. It does exist still. But, it's a step in the right direction.
But there's things that are never going to change. Like, when I see a midget, I'm going to stare for a second, I mean, not a long time.
Yeah.
But it's just...
About 3 to 5 seconds?
No.
But you can't laugh.
Right. No, nor would I. But not every day that you see a midget. So you might, take an extra second or two to stare.
Sonny, for some reason I think that
it's called little people, Sonny.
For some reason I think that with you and a midget, it would be more than staring for a few seconds.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like that would be one of those occasions where something else might happen.
Well, hold on a second.
Would
you
like
give the midget permission for staring at Sonny?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? I've seen many people stare at Sonny.
Should be
That's
like,
true.
you
He's
tall
really
motherfucker.
I think at the next podcast we should get a midget to have a staring contest.
I know one. I know one too.
Bring him in. We're going to do a staring contest.
It's a her, and she does midget porn too.
Oh, this is.
You found
the
her
side.
on Tinder?
No, I found her on Tinder. I found her on
What?
Oh, shit. It was another website. It was Plenty of Fish.
Oh yeah.
And
POF.
hold on a second. Well, we can't let this one go. So you matched on Plenty of Fish with a midget.
So the way that
sorry, a little person.
So Tinder works that you can match with people. You just press left or right, and you can match with them that way. But this POF site, you can actually see people, and then they give you a whole list of people that are in your area.
It's a dating website.
Yeah, it's like a dating website. So
You clicked midget.
Yeah, because I was curious. You know, it's like.
And so what? She was like online, and you kind of like got caught and had to start talking to her. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, and you know what was funny? I asked questions that had nothing to do with like trying to figure out like, you know, like who are you? Like let's meet up, girl. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. But it was more or less stuff like. It sounded like an asshole, but
How do you find pants that fit?
Kind of, sort of. But I was asked like, oh, so what do you do? What do you do for work? And she's like, I work in the entertainment industry. And then from that moment, I already knew what it was.
Hold on a second. Wow. So, did you search porn star or did you search height lower than 4 foot?
Well,
like how did you just start? I'm so curious right
There's
now.
a part that you can put that says no preference because I don't discriminate. The squid loves all. I'm gonna get so much shit for this right now.
What happened? What did you do?
This turned so different. Right now.
I really want to get this girl in here.
I think that'd be nice.
And so then, you know, talking a little bit more. So I'm like, all right, we should meet up. So at the time, the pictures did not look like she was small. It looked like she was a normal sized person. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the selfies. They know how to angle
you know,
that shit.
They angle it from the top, you
right?
know, down. So and you know
right.
They angle from the top. So I'm only looking at the two big.
And
things
you can't see her like disproportionate hands and
you know,
stuff.
only things that I saw was.
God, you are so intolerant.
Sonny, when you were heavy, did you used to take pictures from the top? Tell the truth.
Oh yeah. I used to wear clothes, like black clothes specifically because it hid.
So did I.
And whenever there was a picture being taken, I was sucking in as hard as I could.
You used to sucking in, huh?
But guys out there should know that Sonny was way funnier when he was fat.
I was because I had self-deprecating humor.
It was hilarious, and then he started trying to do it when he got skinny, and it didn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
I think your antics that you have every single day are what's funny.
But I always will see you as fat.
Well, I appreciate that, Robbie.
So you'll always be funny to me.
You've seen me.
You'll always be fat to me. And
I've been fat, thinner.
You've fluctuated so much, but you'll always be fat to me too, Tom. I don't want to lie.
I've always been referred to as like a sexy Fred Flintstone when I was heavy.
Yabba dabba doo.
I've got.
You guys can't see us because this is a podcast.
Oh my God! I have never thought about that until just now. He does look like Fred Flintstone.
Wilma!
Hey, it's better than Family Guy.
I was I got up to 247 pounds once, and they were calling me Marshmallow Garcia.
I remember that because I was running with you.
All of my students.
Everyone.
Why the Garcia though?
Because JiuJitsu.
Oh, okay, Marcelo Garcia. Marshmallow.
Like all of my students were calling me Marshmallow.
It was
Garcia.
crazy when I first met you. It was that time that I just came down to visit Rob, and I remember you being really skinny, man.
I fought MMA at that time. I fought at 185 pounds.
Right.
I weighed in at 182 for that fight.
And of course, I was 280, so I probably had 100 pounds on you, so everybody looked small to me then.
What year was that fight?
2010.
I saw the pictures. Yeah. You were smaller than me, man.
I was really, I worked my ass. Well, I was supposed to have like 4 fights that dropped out, and I trained for all of them. And then finally, I got one that stuck. And believe it or not, the matchmaker for that fight was Josh Salmon.
Oh man, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Josh.
Was a super awesome. I didn't know that he was only like 23 years old at the time. Wow. But he carried himself like he was some professional. Like I thought he was like 35-year-old guy, professional. And man, he was such a good guy. And what a sad thing.
Yeah, but him and rest in peace, Troy.
Yeah. But I fought MMA back then. That's why I was small.
Yeah.
And I won with a heel hook.
I saw it. I saw that fight. That was pretty cool.
Which people didn't think. It was weird back then.
They said that you won on the website. They said you won by rear naked chokes. That's how you know that the heel hooks weren't.
They didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Like even
people were like, "The
ridiculous.
fuck?
I don't know what it was. Just put rear naked choke.
He choked his ankle.
I wasn't even taught a heel hook. Like I had to just figure it out. And nobody taught me how to do it back then.
Then he wins a fight with it.
And
Fucking
I won
savage.
that.
Fucking savage.
Heel hooks scare me. I don't know why. I just haven't trained enough with you on them. I need to come in for a couple days.
They used to scare me. I think you know, I learned a lot about doing leg locks in the last couple of years, and the way that I finish heel hooks now, and the way that I teach the heel hook finish, you're gonna feel pain in your ankle long before your knee is ever in danger. You know, and that was the big thing back then. It was like nobody wanted to do heel hooks because the finish involved twisting, and you would just feel pressure on your knee. You know, like nobody wants to tap to just pressure. There's no pain, and then pop, it's too late. And
Look, you know, when I've never had that problem from white belt to now, where I didn't know when to tap to a heel hook.
That you feel
I
that shit
can't imagine. You gotta be I'm sorry, but you got to be pretty dumb.
I think I'm pretty dumb.
Because something you don't
not realize. Oh wow! If that goes any further, my knee's gonna explode.
Yeah.
Well, it's tap to pressure, not pain, right?
Yeah, that's what they say, but like it's a lot of pressure.
It's a fuck ton of
It
pressure.
is.
And I mean, let's not split hairs, because there's a little pain before you're really in trouble. So I think that it's just
this guy's pushing it too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that it's the whole, like back in the day with the Gracie schools not agreeing with the what did they call them? Who were the guys that were doing heel hooks back then? The Valley, were they the
Valet Brothers
the type of fighting they were
The
doing.
Sambo guys or the catch wrestlers?
Well, yeah, even catch wrestlers, sambo guys,
Are you talking about
or Valley Judo,
Valley
Lucha
Judo.
Libre. Yeah, I can't think of the word. What is it?
Lucha Libre.
Yeah.
Lucha Libre.
Yeah, those guys.
motherfuckers.
They were like, because they would come over and win. They'd beat the jiu-jitsu guys with heel hooks, and then, then they didn't like heel hook. Heel hooks would get, if you won with a heel hook back then, you'd get booed because you did a heel hook. Yeah.
Now it's just
Well,
the
Now
opposite
it's like,
now.
And for the last 2 years, I had a hip replacement. So I've used my age and my inability to use my legs as excuses when I roll with everybody. Hey, don't touch my legs. So I haven't had to learn too much, but now I'm getting healthy again, so I'm ready to.
Oh, yeah, you could learn it.
But I've.
But you
spent
gotta go at your pace, man.
Exactly. Because I had a torn labrum in my hip.
You gotta be careful.
So I'm a little bit more cautious because I'm a little older.
You roll like
I'm calm now. I'm calmer.
like you're trying to kill me.
Not anymore.
Rip my face off. No, I'm just kidding. Tom's very relaxed.
I'm getting.
You are.
Well, you know what? I think cannabis has changed the way I roll. And I just started using it for nutraceutical purposes. So I've been, you mentioned about my weight loss. Well, cannabis is a big part of what helped me to focus on this.
Really?
Exactly. I like I said, my favorite consumption method is dabbing. So what I would do is I would dab, and then I would go to the gym, and I would focus. Because to an entrepreneur or anybody that has things going on in their life, it's very hard to focus and be in the moment. And what I found cannabis helped me to do, when used at the right dosages, it helped me to focus on the task at hand. And to me, that was my exercise early in the morning every day. And I used it as and I don't need it now because I got through this habit of but I used it to help focus myself and get me back into my routine this time. And I really attribute, the use of cannabis and conjunction of jiu-jitsu towards my new lifestyle.
Wow. That's really awesome.
I don't think we've touched on this subject yet, but rolling high. That was the first couple times I did it was a really interesting experience because you stop caring. Everyone says, "Oh, I got no ego. I don't care about taps." When you smoke weed and then roll, you really don't care about taps. And
true.
It ends up being like this really fun experience and really exploratory experience that allows you to like sort of jump out of your game, and it's almost like an out of body experience because you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're kind of playing and doing things that you might not normally do.
Yeah.
And
You explore more.
yeah,
That's for
you
sure.
end up learning a lot. It becomes a fun experience.
Do you guys, when you're under extreme stress, especially you, Squid, when you've gone overseas, do you find yourself that things all slow down for you?
Yeah, all the time.
Right. So when I was on the mat, and this is one of the things that I've had to overcome, is that I haven't been real comfortable. So I don't, in fighting on the mats, because you're new. If I've only been training so many years, but one of the things that Cannabis does is it helps me when I'm on the mat to slow things down, the same way as I do when I'm in stressful situations where I'm completely comfortable. So if I'm in a business deal and things are getting real stressful and other people can't handle what's going on, I actually focus, because that's what I know. That's what I've done for 20 years. If you've been in the military or you're a police officer or something like that. So like to you, jiu-jitsu is natural. You probably when you're on the mat, you see things that I don't see because I'm thinking, blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking, okay, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? Things don't slow down for me yet. But when I come in and I utilize Cannabis as part of my training to roll high, what I've found is that it slows things down for me naturally on its own. And I'm able to see.
Thinking process widens, huh?
Exactly. So I'm not, and like what you mentioned, Sonny, is I don't, those taps don't matter.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing the bigger picture while I'm there. So I think what it helps to do is accelerate that learning curve.
Wow. It's funny because I get, there's things throughout my day with my job and everything that stress me out, so I'll be stressed out over something relatively small, but, in the scheme of things, everything in my life is pretty good. But just like you were talking about, sometimes in a jiu-jitsu match, someone's mounted on you or someone's in side mount on you and you can relax and still stay focused. I feel like in those times in jiu-jitsu, I'm the most focused. Because I have to wait for my opportunity to begin my escape, right? And I understand that concept of waiting for my opportunity to escape. And I know that I have to stay so relaxed so my opponent can't, see my cards, so to speak, right? And this is a position that I've been in the last 10, 11 years that I've studied and been able to do. So when I find myself in situations in my life that are like red alert situations, like, oh shit, I can't believe this is happening to me. Like, for example, I was just on a boat with one of my students and I was seasick for 8 hours.
That's the worst. I've been
in 100 miles offshore. And that sucked so bad, but I was able to, I feel like I got through that because it was almost like being like on bottom side mount. Like I'm able to focus and tell myself, okay, this is going to end and I'm going to get it. I'm going to find my escape. I just have to wait. And
8 hours.
I know, but my mind just kind of tunes into the same state of being. And I'm able to do better under pressure most of the time.
It's your muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's your muscle memory of knowing that you've been in a really bad situation and you've gotten yourself out of it, and you have an inner confidence that you're going to do it again.
Right.
But people that have never put and everybody has a spectrum of where that bottom or that spot is where they just slow down and they realize, everything's going to be okay, but it takes with life experience. So now you're into something new. You just had maybe a child.
Right.
And, this is all new. You've never had a child before, so you don't have any muscle memory on how to deal with, your child gets cooped, or that cough where they're real sick. You think they're going to die, so you go into a panic mode. You don't even want to go to work. You can't even do anything because you've never been around it.
But those are the times where you can start focusing.
You start focusing. You start slowing down.
For me, it was using jiu-jitsu as that tool.
But you see, you can use the other experiences that you've had and apply it to different aspects of your life or business.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Right? And I think that the people that learn to balance that, so do a little bit of that same thing in their home life with their spouse or with their friends or, with their hobby or their sport or their career, those are the people that seem like they're growing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's true.
I think people's jiu-jitsu games reflect their personality. Like 100% reflect their personality.
Yeah. Mine has
I
changed.
feel like if I watch somebody roll jiu-jitsu, and I'm talking about somebody that has experience,
Like
maybe
a purple belt or up.
maybe like a purple belt or up, or maybe even some blue belt level. But just watching them roll, I feel like I got to know them better than if I had a conversation with them, because I could just tell what they're trying to do to that person. I can see whether or not they're being sneaky, or they're being aggressive, are they trying to force things, or they're trying to force things. Maybe they do that in their real life.
You know what's funny? When I was a kid, my uncle told me to learn to play golf, because you can learn about somebody on a golf course, whether they lie about how good they are, about if they get frustrated, if they mess up, if they cheat, right, to win.
Wait, how do you
Same
cheat?
thing on the mat. The
Absolutely.
mat, you're describing right now what people used to use golf for business purposes for.
That'd be a great interview process.
Take them on the mat.
You gotta roll with me.
We got to set. This is where we settle things.
I still want to know, how does somebody cheat at golf?
You write down the numbers. You could write down, or you could kick your ball, or you never saw a guy just say, "I'll throw another ball. Let me hit another one." So you're with somebody and they tell you they shot a 72, and you saw him throw 6 balls, and he really didn't shoot a 72. You know that guy lies about his abilities. So if he tells you that he's good at something else at the same level that he told you he was good at golf, he's probably lying about that as well. So you can learn a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah, Shooter McGavins, man.
It's just like coming on a mat. You guys talked about last week with Rob Kahn about black belts. And, so somebody can lie about their abilities on the mat. Well, put them on the mat with, Robbie or Sonny, and let's see what they're really like.
Right.
And then you know what they're talking about, where their black belt was given to them, or,
Well, exactly, yeah.
Exactly, because the truth comes out, in the game. And the same thing happens in business.
Mm-hmm. Wow, see that?
Dude, that's how I knew
The
that
relation.
your gym was like the real deal. Because like Robbie, I think when I was talking to you about jiu-jitsu at first, he didn't even talk about jiu-jitsu, nothing, when I first went to the gym with you. You're just yeah, we just come out here and we just train with each other, and that's about it. And I was like, so it kind of just left the door open, like, what the fuck am I getting myself into? And then I just see, like, because I didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu that much. I just knew a lot of jiu-jitsu people, but I knew it was a sport that you couldn't bullshit your way through. Definitely not.
Nope.
So I'm hearing about all these other gyms, and then I see your gym, and I go inside there one day, and Robbie's just fucking people up, dude. One after another.
Don't get the wrong image, though.
No, he's like sparring, like sparring people, like rolling with the other students.
Right.
And he's just like going through people, like one after another. And while he's doing, he's talking to them at the same time. So I was like, man, I guess this is the place where I gotta go to, because you hear about these gyms that people go to, and it's a lot of ego filled.
I will never roll with, especially a student or anybody that I'm better than, and kind of run a clinic on them, and not try to help them with something.
Yeah, he was definitely
not try to give them, hey, the reason this is happening is because you're doing this wrong. Try to do this instead.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then I'll start letting them roll. Go, okay, start on my side, start on my back. But because I get a lot out of that too, rolling with the lower level guys like that. But there are a lot of gyms out there where it's the black belt has such an ego that he just can't wait to smash every one of his students every day.
Yeah.
And then not show them what he's doing because they're too scared that their student might get as good as them. Mm-hmm. God forbid. The best feeling in the world for me is when my students, my top level students, tap me out. That's the best, because then I know that what I'm doing is working.
Right, yeah.
And all my top level students, all my brown belts can submit me.
I tried to go at you as hard as I could for the first year. I'll tell you, Robbie humbled the hell out of me.
I know.
Because I was like, I don't care what he knows about jiu-jitsu. I can beat him. In my mind, I was going to beat him. And it didn't care. It didn't matter to me and whatever. But then I started learning it wasn't about beating him. It was about getting better for myself. And the biggest thing that you did for me was you never let me win. You never, and that's what I needed.
I'll never let.
But for me, it was different. Now you may roll with other people and give them. You never gave me anything.
Are you mad at me now?
No. I love you more for it now. I used to be mad at you.
It's funny.
I used to walk out of the gym and I'd be like, mother,
Yeah.
But it made me. I kept coming back.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, one of the things is I will roll with a white, blue belt, and if they're doing the right thing, and even though I know I could probably defend it and do what I need to do, I'll give them that. So you'll see me let those white belts and blue belts submit me because they're using technical flowing jiu-jitsu on me. If it's a guy that wants to overpower me and submit me with his muscles and his biceps, I will not let them take that submission because that's teaching them that works and that doesn't work. The only thing that works is technical jiu-jitsu. So if a guy executes an awesome guard pass and I know that I can invert and snatch him up in something, maybe I don't invert. Maybe I let him take the pass and then he's on side and I'll defend a little bit if he does the right thing. Give him that. Maybe not give him that first submission, but if he goes for the second one that becomes available, all right, take it. We just played chess, and it was fun, and I want to give you that satisfaction of understanding what jiu-jitsu is all about.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said, I think, for handicapping yourself with certain students, because obviously, you roll with whites and blues all the time. You could do whatever you want. So, a lot of times I'll start off with those guys giving them side control, make them work for stuff. And just like you said, if they do everything right, they get me in the submission. I won't fight it. Let them take it because they earned it the right way. They, like you said, they didn't try to power it,
Mm-hmm.
But with other guys, you get.
You had a student once, man. Oh my God!
You mean Chad?
No. This one. No, I'm not gonna call out a name, but I don't remember the guy's name. But he was freaking 8 feet tall. He was gigantic.
Oh, I know what you're talking
about.
But
wasn't he a white belt?
No, he's purple actually.
He was a purple belt.
Yeah, but now he's gonna know we're talking about him.
I'm not that tall. Stop talking about me.
But he was a nice guy. I'm not saying anything bad like that, but when he was rolling with me, he was trying to overpower me,
or just defend,
that's what it was, just defend.
Yeah.
So it was oh, congratulations,
right? And I've talked to him about that.
After 10 minutes,
but for being somebody that relies on strength, when you come into this and that's all you unless you have somebody that's really good like yourself that kind of breaks you of that, it's very hard, especially if you're older and you're stubborn, like myself, to break that. That's why it's so important. That's why I'm Gracie Brandon.
Right.
I love it because
thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
No, it's the truth, and I believe
90%
of your students would say the same thing. But you know what?
And Gracie Bradenton too for Sonny.
But you didn't read a book on that. You had an excellent mentor, Rob Kahn.
Yeah, Rob.
I mean,
Kahn, yeah.
Everything that you do instinctively was done with you as an example. And I feel lucky to be able to learn that, because that was passed through to him as well. And I used to live by compliance through pain. Even in business. Compliance through pain. Make it as painful as the other person, and we're going to get our way one way or the other. But you know what? There's other ways, and patience.
Patience is of huge importance in jiu-jitsu. And
progress through patience. So instead of compliance through pain, there's a happy median. And there's progression through patience, and there's pain. And if you can find what's in the middle, I think that's where, that utopia thing, and for anything, on the mat, running a company, raising a family, You can't be too patient because then you lose control.
Same thing, I think, for Squid with his Tinder.
Yeah.
Gotta be patient.
You just got to be patient, and just...
I don't know, there's also Rumbler. I think you can meet somebody and fist fight them.
No.
What? That's awesome.
Boys.
No, but I just made that up.
See, what an awesome idea.
$1 million ideas right
Well,
here.
in the state of Washington, it's legal for you to fist fight somebody if you both consent.
What a great app. Then.
No shit.
Yeah, in the state of Washington. And if one person dies in that fist fight, the other person is not. And don't quote me on this. Somebody look it up and Google it or something. But they said that as long as both people consent to settle their difference via fist fight, if one person dies, the other person is not guilty of manslaughter.
You guys, watch out for Rumbler. It's going to be coming to
states like
iPhone
Washington
near you.
That's a cool app, though. Because if you just want, like... It'd be funny as a jiu-jitsu guy because you'd be like, you know what? I just want to fucking not hurt someone, but like have someone really try to hurt me and use jiu-jitsu.
Listen,
and not hurt them.
Hey, we got the app. We have the app. We have people meet at Gracie Brandon. We can have every school that's on there. You have to be qualified and I think we might be onto something.
Maybe, but it'd have to be in Washington, right?
Well, not if it's just a jiu-jitsu match. We don't have to
But
fight
jiu-jitsu, but I'm talking about like
real fist fight, like bare
say,
knuckles.
Let's say I find you or I find someone that just doesn't know jiu-jitsu or doesn't know how to fight at all and just thinks he's like, we find like just some guy.
Cooper,
Arby's
Cooper.
bathroom.
Yeah, we find like a Cooper.
Is Keith Cooper still around? I love that
Yeah,
kid.
he's great. He's still
I love
Poor
Keith.
Keith.
I've known Keith since he started. I talked to Keith's mom, and she gave me his credit card number to buy his gi when he first joined the gym.
Yeah.
Very first time he was
As at XFC.
and he's at XFC, and I've known Keith ever since, and he reminds me of myself when I was in my 20s, and I don't want to admit that too much.
Neither would I.
I love Keith. I really do.
I know. I love Keith.
I
Too.
love
He's
his
got-
Facebook posts.
Yeah,
he doesn't give a shit.
He really does have a very raw sense of humor. I
Yeah,
guess.
very much.
But it is funny.
I gave him most of his lines that are not good. Like
You guys ever hear the story when I cornered him in one of his MMA fights? No, this is to his credit. Now,
Oh yeah, I was there.
were you there for that?
Yeah, it was
Is this
me
the one
and
where he
Big
takes a
Devin,
massive
where his
beating?
face was
Listen,
just.
this is the story
God.
behind it, though. I really tried to train him really hard for this fight, and Keith's a great guy, but as far as raw talent, I wouldn't say. He works hard. Put it that way. And I trained him for the fight. We were supposed to fight a wrestler, a really good wrestler. So we were like practicing, jiu-jitsu, practicing, stuffing takedowns and punching the guy, whatever. And we get to the fight.
He pulls guard.
No, we see this guy shadow boxing that he's fighting, and the dude looks like a pro boxer. Like he's like got really good hands, and did not look like a wrestler to me at all. And I was like, oh my god. But I'm like, Keith's gonna get his face punched in so bad. I'm like, oh my god.
I'll tell you, the thing I love about Cooper is he keeps coming back.
He's a heart.
He's like
got a
your
heart.
dirt. I took Keith to Daytona Beach with my son Hunter, and Keith fought a fight too out there, and it was another deal where it was one of. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I'm sorry, Keith, but he walked out there, and I want to say when they went to tap gloves, Keith punched the guy right in his face, right? And it was just and Keith got knocked out cold.
Cold, yeah.
And they kept replaying it on the TVs.
Yeah.
Knocked out cold, taken
is a
in a
different
stretcher.
fight.
This was a different fight. This was in 2010.
I'll tell you about the other one.
So in 2010, we went out there. It was just an MMA fight, and he got knocked out cold. They took him out in a stretcher, and I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, I can't believe I let Keith fight. He's going to die. He's unconscious. The paramedics are out there, and the guy that knocked him out's walking around with his arms up in the air. The guy's a beast, right? And I'm like, he fucking killed Keith. So we get over there, and they're putting Keith into the ambulance, and it's me and Hunter, and he opens his eyes, right? And I'm like, Keith, are you okay? You know, you want me to call your mom, whatever? And the woman paramedic that was there, he looks at her and he goes, you sure are pretty.
That's awesome.
God.
That's his first words that he says. He looks at her, he goes, you sure are. And I'm like, he's fine.
Wow. He goes into this other fight, this boxer, and round 1 starts. And I've never seen someone get punched in the face so many times in my life.
And he keeps taking it.
Any fight that I've ever seen, in UFC or whatever, this guy just unloaded everything he had on Keith's face. And his face was bleeding just ferociously. And it was like a walking punching bag. He just kept running into the guy. And then round 2 happened. More of the same. And then towards the end of round 2, the guy dishing out the beat and starts getting tired.
Getting tired kicking Keith's ass.
Keith's not tired. He wasn't even tired. He starts throwing his punches, and the punches, they look a little different than his opponent's punches. But he's landing them on the guy. And this guy starts getting cut. And the guy's too tired to lift his arm, and Keith is winning. I really thought he was going to start winning this fight. 3rd round comes out, and Keith gives this guy a beating. And the guy had like one burst of energy at the end. And they both looked like they got hit in the face with like bats.
I've got that picture.
So who won?
It's me.
The
you, and
other
Devin.
guy won. Keith, there was no way that you could have gave it to Keith. But man, did everybody at that place come up to him and congratulated him? Like,
I was
they were
more
like,
Thing to
proud
be
of
congratulated for too. It's like, hey man, congratulations on being able to take a punch.
take a beating.
No, but you know what? It's not just take that punch. It's everything that he went through to get in that ring.
Of course.
Yeah,
to that
it really
point.
was.
He
To
mind-fucked
me,
him.
that was a victory. Like I remember it distinctly.
It was.
Remember taking the picture, and we were so happy. He lost the fight, but to us, he won.
Oh yeah.
You know, and if you know Keith, you know what we're probably talking about. You know, he's got a heart of gold, and he just doesn't give up. And it's people like that I find in the gym atmosphere. And somebody asked me in my business, they're like, why do you go to the gym so much? Why do you hang out with these guys? I go, because they're the realest people I've ever met.
Wow.
The people in the MMA and the jiu-jitsu world, for the most part, are the realest people. You know, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what your job, we train with police officers. We train with military personnel. We train with, CEOs and executives of companies, as well as college kids, even 16-year-old kids that are far beyond their years in their jiu-jitsu skills. And when we're on the mat, we're all the same.
Yep.
But that's
Is that like
149.
water polo?
We're at like 150 here.
Almost 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
We're going to go train now?
Yeah, gotta go train.
So I think we're good. Anybody want to plug anything for anything?
I don't know. Let's
Go ahead.
Hey, well, I'm going out to California, the Florida Cannabis Coalition, November 5th. Go to the website. The Glue, we didn't get to talk about that. It's a distribution platform that I have. You could go onto our website and take a look at it. But, athletics and cannabis is huge. And, take a look at what Canna Athlete is doing in California. I'm working with Sabo Shen and Jim McAlpine on changing the perception. And that's the thing is, if anything, vote yes on 2, but educate yourself. And if you have a chance to get out there and talk to, a family member, I don't really want to plug the businesses right now. Let's talk about voting. Go out to the ballots on November 8th and vote yes on 2 in the state of Florida. And vote on it not because you want to use cannabis or your previous views on cannabis have told you that it's the wrong thing. Research it. Look at what it's doing for people. And it's about freedom. Allow people the freedom to choose the medicine that they need, whether that it is for treating epilepsy or cancer or depression or anxiety or just helping them to focus and be a better fucking human being. Vote yes on 2.
Amen.
And Pam Bondi, if you're listening to this, let me get you high, baby. We'll figure it out. I'll show you what it's all about.
All right, guys.
I know somebody that does Pam Bondi's makeup, and But no, let's leave that for another podcast. You can meet her.
Alrighty.
That would be
Sounds
really
good.
cool. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.